Hey there, I'm back. So, it's been a little while since the parking lot at Subway. Um, Pretty sure it's Wednesday evening. Um, I feel like I'm making progress, and I haven't slipped back into what do you call it? I don't even know what you would call it. But I've just been having these issues where I sleep for days on end, more or less. I go on little binges on Reddit, sometimes comment binges on YouTube. Every now and then I'll make a little bit of headway trying to organize my apartment, but it seems like 2 steps forward, 5 steps back. But yeah, when I have these little, I don't know, it seems like the days go by and I just don't even know what day it is anymore. I know I go to sleep on, Sunday early morning after my show at the 44. But I don't know, it never seems to be Sunday or Monday when I finally actually get out of bed and attempt to do something constructive. Anyway, I feel kind of weird dropping too many details on what all's going on with me right now, but let's just say I've slept through a lot of really important deadlines due to a lack of energy to function, I guess. And again, still kind of trying to document what's happening with me right now. Because those seem worse than they've been, but I don't know. And like looking back, it kind of feels like it's been going on since even before Lyme shut down. But I'm not really sure, and maybe that's why I should have kept a diary log or something. At least when I was still working with Lyme, I had the option of opening up my app, and I could kind of recollect my days by looking at my log of how many scooters I did and what time I did them. But man, since January of 2020, it's hard to believe it's been over a year. Quite a bit over a year. In fact, I was just looking at pictures of when I was juicing for Lyme in San Diego, and just thinking about how incredibly happy I was doing that. And that was frighteningly close to 2 years ago, and I'm just kind of wondering where those 2 years went. Yeah, I haven't been got off to a great start the other day, and just haven't been able to do too many of these. Gotta love noise pollution. Because it's kind of hard to find a place to sit down and do this, not look like I'm the crazy guy talking to himself as I'm here being the crazy guy talking to him. So I struggle enough to fit in society and interact with other people, especially when I'm fairly confident that my perception of reality is so different than everybody else's. And some of that is natural. I mean, I'm definitely having some vision issues that are not mental health related, they're age related, which I was worn by an optometrist, over 18 years ago, I could expect that at a considerably younger age than I am now. So, but I still can't. I still can't feel comfortable with glasses on. It's not even about how I look, to be honest. I've got some pictures of myself in glasses, and I feel like I look decent in glasses. But the feeling of something touching my nose and touching the side of my face, especially the feeling of something touching my nose, it's like a bug landing on my arm or a bug landing on my face. It's something I'm probably going to have to learn to deal with, because it is getting difficult to see. So I noticed a symptom today that I believe is, I haven't Googled it, so I could be talking out my ass, but speaking from my own personal experience, I believe is an effect of going into a manic phase of my bipolar disorder. I question how my my schizoaffective disorder might be in increasing what I'm seeing beyond just normal manic episode. But a lot of people say when they go through a manic episode that they feel superhuman. They feel like they've got a lot of extra skills, and I've experienced that many times, and sometimes I was just crazy. But then other times I did pretty amazing things. Whether that was have a $300 plus day with Lime, or whether that was going into a karaoke bar and singing some random song just remarkably well. On that note, I just did a pretty good rendition of Today by the Smashing Pumpkins down at the Grapevine. So I went to see Ray, the host. Well, I didn't. I actually went just to see if the Grapevine was up and functioning, and was thrilled to see they were. They're doing a couple things for COVID, but for the most part, they're taking advantage of the fact that the governor has lifted restrictions. To be honest, the only thing they seem to be doing, they are putting socks on the microphones, and I'm assuming Ray's wiping them down. I didn't really notice, and Ray's kind of in a plexiglass box, so that's fine. You could see they had actually taken the option. For those unfamiliar, karaoke's been an option in Arizona for several months, and I've been hosting barely, but I have been hosting consistently since the week that there was a modification put in place to allow for it. The break room manager of the break room, Drea, she called me immediately. It was just like, Dan, did you see it? And I'm like, yeah, I saw it. It was funny. I was getting ready to send her a link to the new posting from the Arizona Department of Health regarding the new regulations, and I had read them thoroughly, and some of them were kind of head scratchers, particularly the 12-foot distance between karaoke singers and all other patrons in the venue. I kind of came to the conclusion that I, as a contractor, was not a patron, so I did put myself closer, but did what I could, to set up a layout for the singers that put all customers that were not getting up where they shouldn't be. um, 12 feet away from the singers. The other option that was in there, which I haven't really seen done, was they said you could also create a plexiglass box. And I remember talking to an owner of a bar about potentially doing karaoke there, a place in Chandler, and I forget the name of it. And for what it's worth, I did go back there, I believe yesterday, and just talked to the bartender real briefly, left my contact information, written on a scrap of paper. So yeah, real professional. I need to order cards, but yeah, I did that. Anyway, when I was talking to him regarding, what the regulations were and how I could accommodate them in his bar, I had not seen the layout of his bar, so I had no idea what I was facing. But it had been a challenge to make it work in the break room. When I actually got out the tape measure and realized, holy crap, 12-foot radius is potentially a circle with a 24-foot diameter, and that's a lot of space inside a bar, and particularly a bar that's small enough to be likely to do karaoke, and even as spacious as the break room is, considering the fact that obviously pool tables are not going to be moved. Let's just say it was a challenge to figure out how to make that 12-foot happen. So anyway, I was on the phone with that other bar owner. Don't remember his name. Don't remember the venue. I did find it yesterday, though. It took some. It was one of those moments where I couldn't remember the names. I couldn't look it up. I couldn't remember exactly where it was. I can remember kind of where it was. I'm driving through West Chandler and realizing that, man, every strip mall on that side of town looks the damn same. It's like, oh, it's a place in the strip mall. Ah, no, it's a down. Sure, it's not far from the Circle K or the Walgreens, and it's not. And neither is anything else in the valley. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, I was talking to him about it, and he was like, "Yeah, you're not getting plexiglass." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, remember how hard it was to get toilet paper?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think everybody remembers that." And he's like, "Yeah, that's plexiglass right now. Nobody has it in stock, and those who do, they want a ridiculous amount of money for plexiglass." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, thanks for the heads up." So anyway, back to the Grapevine. So I was at Grapevine when Ray was hosting. Great to see Ray again. It's been about 2 years since I've seen Ray. Year and a half-ish. Definitely before Lime shut down Arizona operations. I want to clarify that. Lime shut down Arizona operations. I know Lime is still doing their thing in a lot of places, and I absolutely miss Lime. Really wish my app they hadn't deactivated the juicer mode in my app, because honestly right now I would probably just be rolling someplace else where Lime is still functional, and just doing that. I miss doing that a lot. But anyway, sidetracked myself again. So yeah, they actually had built a plexiglass box inside, beyond the plexiglass box that Ray was in. They built a plexiglass box for the singers, and added another television that faced the inside of the plexiglass box for the singers to sing in. I got some pictures of it, and unfortunately I don't know how to edit video on an iPhone. I do want to learn, but at this moment I absolutely do not know how to edit video on an iPhone, so I can't just reach in here and do this and show you an area, cut away to an image so you can see it. But it's if you get a chance to go into the Grapevine in Old Town Scottsdale, it's good for a few laughs. And some singers are still choosing to sing in it. And on that note, I have no issues with people choosing to take extra precautions, in the pandemic, such as it is. You know, if wearing a mask makes you more comfortable, wear a mask. You know, if you're going into an environment where it makes the people in the environment more comfortable, wear a mask. If you're shopping in a store that says you should wear a mask, and that's their house, it's their rules. You have the option of not shopping there. That said, I'm generally choosing not to if there seems to be no point to, which is most places I'm going into right now. But yeah, you get a chance to go in there. Some people are using it, so I'm assuming they're probably going to leave it up as long as it's useful to some people. But it made me giggle. And anyway, had some fun there. Also went back by Chopper John's. And Chopper John's is definitely one of the more interesting karaoke gigs I've ever had. One of my singers who never made it to the show because she ended up pretty quickly after suggesting that I go talk to them about karaoke, that she thought they might be looking. Shortly after that, she moved to, I believe, Sebastopol, California, or maybe Berkeley. Somewhere Bay Area-ish. And Teresa, if you're watching this, I miss you very much. So she suggested it, and I went in, and it was probably like the fourth place that I went to talk to that night. So I had a wee bit of a buzz on by the time I got there, and the owner of the bar was also feeling pretty good. And boy, we just hit it off. It was pretty funny, and it was, great conversation. And I mean, 15 minutes later, I'm in his busy bar, holding up my iPhone behind TVs and taking pictures and trying to figure out, where the connections on the TVs are. And he's like, oh yeah, well, come on in tomorrow and start hooking up. We'll start on update. And I'm like, wow, okay. The next day I was just like, yeah, I probably should talk to him sober while he's sober. And we had a much more sensible conversation then, but it ended up being an absolutely fabulous karaoke show. But really short-lived. Started a couple weeks after the end of the first bar lockdown, or bar closure, whatever you want to call it, in Arizona. Which I think the first one was mandated by the city of Phoenix. If memory serves, and we're past the 1 year anniversary of 2 weeks to flatten the curve. So, but and God knows my mind is more than a little fractured. But if memory serves, it was Arizona that closed bars. I'm sorry, the city of Phoenix closed bars. And then a few days later, the state of Arizona followed suit with rules that pretty much just duplicated what Phoenix had put in place. So, it seems like at that time, as I recall, there was a clause in Doug Ducey's original order that took the power away from local governments, took it away from county governments and city governments, which, if you follow Arizona politics, or if you find COVID politics in general to be interesting, I did hear today on KTAR that, and I'd also read it on a couple, or no, not read it, but I'd seen it on a couple of local Phoenix News Channel YouTube feeds that the city of Tucson as well as Pima County governments are both fighting the current order put in place by Doug Ducey, which again I'm assuming he's using the same clause. I haven't read the actual text of the order, but it's my understanding he's put a similar clause in place saying that his order that overrides that allows all businesses to basically lifts all COVID restrictions and let businesses do what they want to do, whatever they're comfortable with. They're fighting it. They still want to keep their city stuff in place, their county stuff in place. And I'm just kind of standing on the sidelines watching to see where that goes, because I don't have a horse in that race, and I'm sure some people are well aware I'm not going to Tucson. Sorry, if you're somewhere in Tucson and you're looking for me, I am not there. I'm not going there. Yeah, but it's going to be interesting to see where that goes, and I do believe that's probably going to go. I wouldn't be surprised if that goes all the way to the Arizona Supreme Court, and it may very well set precedent regarding city and county government rights, where their authority starts and ends, and where the state government's authority starts and ends, and that's in some instances that's a gray area, and I do believe the mayor of as much as I don't like it, I do believe that the mayor of Tucson is well within her rights to challenge that, until there is a precedent set. And I'm rambling in every direction. By the way, these vlogs are not scripted whatsoever. I hit record, and I got a couple things I'm thinking about talking about, and then it's just whatever's going through the noise in my head, which has been really noisy lately. I was going to talk about the symptom. I should invest in a muffler. I was going to talk about the symptom that I've really been noticing, but I don't know if it's a normal symptom for a manic phase of bipolar, or if it's a normal symptom for schizoaffective disorder. But I've noticed when I start to hit a certain level of mania, along with the feelings of strength, which right now with all the challenges I'm facing, I need that strength. I just can't, that's got to make sure that strength doesn't land me back at County Annex. That's the last thing I need. One thing I notice is I become very sensitive, like my eyes become very sensitive and very keenly aware of the 60 hertz strobe of almost all lighting. I mean, I can see it. I can count the flickers. So what I know that microprocessor speed is calculated in cycles per second, or thousands of cycles per second, millions of cycles per second. I haven't been following processors for a while. A long time ago, it got to the point where they were plenty fast, and processor speed wasn't really the bottleneck of computers. And now, of course, an iPhone has what an iPhone has, and I do know that the PC that I'm hosting my karaoke show on is underpowered by today's standards, but it's much more than adequate to do the task that I built it for. So I'm a big believer in if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I don't upgrade things that are performing well. So on that note, I don't know how fast the speed is, but I do know that where I was going with this is that the clock speed of a computer, it's a thing you can test that. There's you got the speed it's going at, and of course all my nerds know you can overclock a processor, and then you can run a program that will test that, calculate that. I mean, Lord knows I haven't done that since the days of Pentium 2s, but I remember doing that. I remember seeing those apps, and I'm like, oh, that's how fast my processor's going. Cool. Um, and I wonder if I've not done any research. Maybe it has. I'm a karaoke DJ, not a doctor, but not a neurologist. But I wonder if anybody's ever found a test to calculate the functioning, the processing speed of the human brain, or the human consciousness. I feel like I'm moving really, really fast now, and I'm getting ready to go into Cat's Lounge. The bartender over at Chopper John's had told me that she had heard they were looking for somebody, and when I was at Chopper John's, the owner of Cat's had actually approached me in the parking lot and had asked, and I told her, that at that time my schedule at Chopper John's was kind of up in the air. I told her as soon as I had a handle on that, I would definitely be in touch with her. And about the time I had a handle on that, the second state closure of all bars and restaurants hit like a brick. So I was like, well, that was a fun and short-lived show, which is sad. Like, that was, of all the karaoke shows I've ever had, I would say Chopper John's is in my top 3 of me coming in as new karaoke show, new karaoke host. I would say Chopper John's is definitely my top 3 of just hit the ground running shows. The first show was just packed, and I had a lot of my karaoke regulars from previous bars just come out of the woodwork, ready to sing, and then there were a lot of regulars that just, that's their neighborhood bar, and they were there and just loved the whole mixed media thing, loved the music, loved the transitions back and forth, and some of them got bold and got on stage and sang that probably never sang before in their lives, and had a blast. And I don't think that show lasted like 3 weeks. 3 weeks, and the irony is that's when I caught COVID. So had the state not shut down that week, had shut down the bars that weekend, like I wouldn't have been hosting karaoke that weekend either, because I was at home with a 99 degree fever, 100 degree fever. So feeling generally like ass, but didn't kill me. Didn't hospitalize me. Didn't need a ventilator. Not disrespecting those that have lost loved ones. And those whose friends have been very sick, and for what it's worth, I do have a lot of friends that did get very sick from it, as well as people whom I consider family that got very sick from it. So, and if you're watching, hi Al. Anyway, I didn't get. I got pretty sick, but I mean, I was, and I immediately called the urgent care that's on my insurance. It's near my home, and scheduled an appointment for a test. And by the time that they gave me the soonest date available, and then by the time I went in there for them to check me out, and stab my brain with the swab through my nose. It did come back positive, but by the time I went in there, I had mild sniffles and a little congestion. I didn't have a fever. I felt a little run down, but I wasn't. I wouldn't have considered myself sick. I mean, in the midst of what's going on with COVID, I wouldn't have been out, some karaoke like that. But I would have been out hustling scooters like that. Well, not in the middle of a pandemic, but I mean, before before, like 2018, 2019. Wow, I've hit the half-hour mark. I'm way past the 10-minute to get monetized mark. Not that this channel is monetized, but on that note, time's a waste, so I need to get into cats. Surprisingly, I'm not getting too many people walking by looking at me funny, but there's not much happening here right now. Anyway, not sure when the next one of these will be, but hopefully it'll be soon. And I know my mind is racing in a really big way right now. I have had a couple instances today of what I would call colliding thoughts, and so I need to be keenly aware of that, because people, the general public doesn't know what that is, and I'm not 100% sure the impression that it gives to people, but based on when I've had episodes in the past and then going, where there were police involved, and going back and reading the police records, they almost all consistently say, quote, acting as if he was on drugs, and in most of those instances I was not on any drugs whatsoever. In fact, I was not on any meds whatsoever. Yeah, I go in right now and try to, I don't expect the owner to be there, but at least, have a little FaceTime with the bartender and drop off a phone number. I do need to not look like I'm on drugs, so I'll try to, even though everything in my perception is running at a really odd speed right now, and all the lights are strobing really hard, I just need to kind of put on my game face and go do it. So, wish me luck. Of course, by the time you see this, it already will have happened, but I'm praying for luck, I guess. Praying for help and guidance. Anyway, until the next one, thanks for watching, thanks for caring.